At 2:17 a.m., the forest went completely silent. Not the normal quiet of a winter night. This was different. The kind of unnatural silence that makes your ears ring and your skin crawl. No wind through the trees, no distant traffic, no insects. Even the camper's own heartbeat seemed to disappear into the void. Scientists call this the Oz effect. It's when every normal sound in the woods just disappears. It's your brain's way of telling you that a giant predator is close enough to kill you. Then came the turkey call, a perfect gobble echoing through the dead silence of the Hudson Valley winter. But here's the problem. Turkeys don't vocalize at 2 in the morning. They don't make sounds in the dead of night. And they certainly don't cause every other living thing in a square mile to go silent with fear. The camper who recorded this footage realized something was hunting him when the bird sounds started circling his campsite. Each call was getting closer. Each gobble was coming from something massive moving through the forest on 2 legs. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how one camper survived this encounter. But more importantly, I'm going to reveal what the creature was actually doing and why an apex predator would weaponize the sound of a harmless bird to bypass your brain's natural defenses. The answer will change how you think about every moment of silence in the wilderness. The story begins in 1962, deep in the Hudson Valley forests near Maybrook, New York. A local hunter named Thomas Mitchell was tracking deer through the dense oak and hickory woods when he heard something that shouldn't exist. High-pitched turkey gobbles were echoing through the trees. But these weren't coming from a bird perched in branches. The sounds were coming from something walking upright through the underbrush. Something massive. Mitchell followed the calls until he saw it. A bipedal figure standing nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark hair, producing perfect turkey vocalizations from its throat. The creature noticed him watching and let out one final, bone-chilling gobble before disappearing into the forest. That sighting launched what locals now call the Turkey Monster legend. But Mitchell's encounter was just the beginning. But here's what makes Mitchell's 1962 story terrifying in 2024. Modern wildlife science has proven he was right to be afraid. If you believe witnesses like Thomas Mitchell deserve to be heard, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that these stories matter, and it helps us reach more people before they head into the Hudson Valley this weekend. Dr. Sarah Chen's 2018 acoustic research confirmed that wild turkeys are virtually silent during winter months. They roost motionless in trees after sunset and don't vocalize until dawn. What Mitchell heard that day was biologically impossible for any actual bird. Yet over the next 6 decades, dozens of witnesses have reported identical experiences throughout the Hudson Valley region. The pattern is always the same. Hikers or campers hear turkey calls in locations where no turkeys should be present. When they investigate, they discover the sounds are coming from something far more dangerous. Even more disturbing is where these encounters occur. The creature only makes these sounds near human camps and hiking trails. Never in remote wilderness areas where actual turkeys might be found. It's as if the entity specifically targets locations where people are present. This isn't random animal behavior. It's a calculated hunting pattern. Modern acoustic analysis of recorded encounters reveals something even more unsettling. The turkey sounds contain frequencies that don't match any known North American bird species. Spectrographic analysis shows infrasound components, sound waves below human hearing that trigger primal fear responses in mammals. The creature isn't just mimicking turkey calls, it's weaponizing them. But the real terror began when researchers discovered what these sounds actually do to human prey. The high-pitched gobbles mask the creature's massive footsteps and heavy breathing. While victims focus on identifying the bird, they remain completely unaware of the 8-foot predator moving through the darkness around them. The mimicry serves another purpose. It exploits our evolutionary psychology. For thousands of years, bird sounds have signaled safety to humans. They indicate a healthy ecosystem where prey animals feel secure enough to vocalize. When we hear turkey calls, our brains automatically categorize the environment as non-threatening. This false sense of security is exactly what the creature needs. Witnesses consistently report feeling curious rather than afraid when they first hear the sounds. Many describe an almost irresistible urge to investigate the source of the calls. That urge has proven fatal for some. 3 documented cases from the past decade involve missing hikers who reported hearing turkey sounds in their final radio transmissions. Search and rescue teams found their abandoned camps with no signs of struggle, just empty tents and cold campfires, as if the occupants simply walked away into the forest. But one camper's experience in 2019 revealed the true horror of what these creatures are capable of. His thermal camera captured footage that shows exactly how the turkey monster uses its vocal mimicry as a weapon. And the most chilling part? The creature appears to be learning, getting better at its deception with each encounter. The reason these encounters are so terrifying isn't just the creature's size or appearance. It's how perfectly the turkey monster exploits the weaknesses in human neurology. When you hear bird calls in the wilderness, your brain processes them through the auditory cortex in less than 50 milliseconds. But here's what makes this creature so dangerous. It's not just mimicking the sound of turkeys. It's weaponizing the exact frequencies that trigger our most basic survival instincts. Dr. Michael Harrison, a neuroacoustic specialist at Cornell University, analyzed recordings from 3 separate Hudson Valley encounters. His findings reveal something deeply disturbing about how these vocalizations affect human consciousness. The turkey calls hide a deadly secret: infrasound. These are low-frequency sound waves you can't hear, but you can feel. Stop for a second. I need you to understand what this actually feels like. If you were standing in that forest, you wouldn't just hear the turkey call. You'd feel something wrong deep in your gut, a vibration like the bass at a concert, but completely silent. Your inner ear would start to spin as those 20 Hz sound waves punch through your skull and mess with your balance. The nausea hits first. That sick, hollow feeling starts in your stomach and spreads upward through your chest like you're about to vomit. Your mouth goes dry. Your hands start to shake, but not from fear, from your nervous system misfiring as the infrasound scrambles the signals between your brain and body. You'd try to stay still, but your own legs would betray you. Your body leans forward without your permission, like you're being pulled by invisible strings. You're fighting your own muscles as they move you toward the sound, one stumbling step at a time. Your rational mind is screaming to stop, to run, to do anything except walk toward that turkey call. But you can't control your own body anymore. The infrasound has hijacked the part of your brain that controls movement, and now you're watching yourself walk into a trap while being powerless to stop it. You're not watching a video about this anymore. You're experiencing the hunt. The creature layers these subsonic frequencies beneath the high-pitched turkey gobbles for maximum psychological impact. While your conscious mind focuses on identifying the familiar bird sounds, the infrasound bypasses your rational thinking entirely and goes straight to the primitive fear centers in your brainstem. This creates the perfect trap. For millions of years, our ancestors relied on bird calls as an early warning system. When birds go silent, it means predators are present. When they're vocalizing, it signals safety. The turkey monster weaponizes this ancient survival mechanism. Your subconscious thinks the environment is secure because of the bird sounds, while the infrasound triggers fight or flight responses that your conscious mind can't understand or control. You end up frozen, too confused to run and too scared to think. Dr. Harrison's research identified 3 specific ways these vocalizations compromise human decision-making. First, The infrasound disrupts the connection between your auditory processing and spatial reasoning. You hear the calls, but can't accurately determine their location or distance. Second, the frequency combination interferes with your ability to gauge the size of the sound source. A creature weighing 800 pounds can make itself sound like a 20-pound bird through precise vocal manipulation. Third, and most terrifying, the sounds appear to trigger a phenomenon called acoustic following response. This is the same neurological mechanism that causes people to walk towards sirens or investigate strange noises against their better judgment. The creature doesn't just make turkey sounds to hide its presence. It uses them to actively lure victims away from safety. I want to know, have you ever felt that sudden, sick feeling in your gut while hiking? That wrong vibration that you couldn't explain? Tell me your story in the comments. We're building a database of these acoustic dead zones, and your experience might be the missing piece of the puzzle. Case studies from the Hudson Valley show this hunting strategy in action. Hikers consistently report hearing the calls and feeling an overwhelming compulsion to investigate. They describe leaving their tents or campsites despite knowing it's dangerous, as if their own will has been compromised. The most chilling aspect of Dr. Harrison's analysis involves the timing of these vocalizations. The creature doesn't produce random turkey calls. It follows a specific acoustic pattern designed to gradually override human judgment over a 30 to 40-minute period. The calls start distant and infrequent, allowing the infrasound to slowly accumulate in your system. As the psychological pressure builds, the sounds become closer and more frequent, increasing the neurological disruption until rational thought becomes impossible. By the time you realize what's happening, your brain has already been compromised. The creature has turned your own neurology into a weapon against you. Marcus Chen thought he was prepared for anything when he set up camp in the Maybrook State Forest on November 15, 2019. An experienced backpacker with over a decade of wilderness camping, he'd chosen a secluded clearing 3 miles from the nearest trail. His thermal imaging camera was running continuously, part of a personal project documenting nocturnal wildlife behavior. At 2:17 a.m., his thermal camera captured a massive, upright heat signature standing motionless just 30 feet from his tent, watching him for 17 straight minutes without making a sound. That footage would change everything we thought we knew about the turkey monster. The first gobble came from the northeast, approximately 200 yards away. Marcus noted the time in his journal, describing it as a standard turkey call, but oddly timed for winter. He assumed it was a confused bird disrupted by unseasonably warm weather. The second call came 12 minutes later, this time from the northwest, closer, maybe 150 yards. That's when Marcus realized something was wrong. No turkey moves that distance in 12 minutes during winter nights. They roost in trees and remain stationary until dawn. But the thermal footage shows exactly what was happening in the darkness around his campsite. A massive heat signature was circling his position. At 2:31 a.m., the third gobble echoed from due west. The thermal camera registered the source as standing 8 feet tall, with a body temperature of 101 degrees Fahrenheit. The signature showed broad shoulders, long arms, and a distinctly bipedal stance. Marcus later described feeling drawn to the sound, despite recognizing the danger. His journal entries, written in real time during the encounter, reveal the psychological progression that nearly cost him his life. 2:33 a.m. The calls are definitely not from a bird, something large moving through the trees. Should pack up and leave but can't stop listening. The sound is almost hypnotic. The creature continued its methodical approach. Each gobble came from a new position, gradually tightening the circle around Marcus's tent. The thermal footage shows the entity moving with deliberate precision, never approaching directly, but maintaining constant psychological pressure through sound. At 2:45 a.m., Marcus began experiencing the physical symptoms documented in other encounters: nausea, dizziness, and an inability to determine the exact location of the sounds despite having clear thermal imagery of their source. 2:47 a.m. Can't trust my own ears anymore. The calls seem to be coming from everywhere at once. Feeling sick. Something is very wrong with my perception. The infrasound was taking effect. While Marcus's conscious mind processed the turkey gobbles, the subsonic frequencies were systematically dismantling his ability to think rationally. His handwriting becomes increasingly erratic in the journal entries from this period. At 2:52 a.m., the creature changed tactics. The turkey calls stopped abruptly, replaced by something far more terrifying: complete silence. Marcus described this moment as the most frightening experience of my life. The forest had gone completely quiet. No wind, no insects, no distant traffic. Just absolute, unnatural silence that seemed to press against his eardrums. The thermal camera shows the creature had moved to within 30 feet of Marcus's tent and was standing perfectly motionless. 2:54 a.m. Everything has gone silent. Can't hear my own heartbeat. The thing is right outside. Can see its heat signature, but it's not moving. Just watching. For 17 minutes, the creature remained stationary, while Marcus sat paralyzed inside his tent. The thermal footage reveals it was studying him, occasionally tilting its massive head as if listening for movement inside the shelter. Most unnerving of all, the heat signature appeared to pulse rhythmically, as if the creature's elevated body temperature was fluctuating with its breathing as it watched and waited. At 3:11 a.m., Marcus made the decision that saved his life. Instead of investigating the sounds or attempting to flee, he remained completely still and waited. The creature began moving again at 3:18 a.m., this time retreating into the forest. The turkey calls resumed, growing more distant with each vocalization. By 3:45 a.m., the sounds had faded entirely, and normal forest ambiance gradually returned. Marcus packed his equipment and hiked out in darkness, reaching his vehicle just after dawn. The thermal footage he captured that night provides the most detailed documentation of turkey monster hunting behavior ever recorded. Analysis of the encounter reveals the creature's sophisticated predatory strategy. The initial turkey calls served multiple purposes: masking its approach, disorienting the victim through infrasound, and creating psychological pressure that would normally drive prey away from safety. When Marcus refused to leave his tent, the creature switched to intimidation tactics, using the Oz effect to demonstrate its presence without revealing itself visually. The 17-minute standoff suggests these entities are capable of remarkable patience and strategic thinking. Most disturbing is what the thermal camera captured during those final moments. As the creature retreated, it paused 3 times to look back toward the campsite, as if memorizing the location for future reference. Marcus Chen survived because he didn't follow the script these predators expect from human prey. The Hudson Valley isn't just another location where cryptid encounters happen to occur. This region possesses unique geographical and geological features that create perfect conditions for the turkey monster's hunting behavior, and may explain why these creatures have claimed this territory as their own. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a sound specialist who studied the area in 2020, discovered that the Hudson Valley functions as a massive acoustic trap. The valley's steep hills and thick trees catch infrasound frequencies and amplify them, while ancient stone cairns scattered throughout the region create resonance chambers that further boost these psychological weapons. Local archaeologists have documented over 300 of these mysterious rock formations within a 20-mile radius of Maybrook. Most consist of carefully balanced rocks arranged in specific patterns that mainstream science struggles to explain. Native American tribes in the area have no oral traditions regarding their construction. But Dr. Rodriguez's team found something remarkable when they tested these cairns with sensitive acoustic equipment. The stone arrangements amplify frequencies below 20 Hz, exactly the range used by the turkey monster for psychological manipulation. Combined with the valley's natural geography, this creates acoustic kill zones where the creature's vocalizations become significantly more powerful than they would in flatter terrain. The geography serves another deadly purpose. The valley's narrow corridors and thick vegetation limit escape routes for potential prey. Unlike open wilderness areas where victims might flee in any direction, the Hudson Valley funnels human movement along predictable paths, hiking trails, river access points, and established camping areas. The creatures have learned to exploit these natural bottlenecks, consistently positioning themselves to cut off retreat routes and trap victims in locations where their acoustic weapons achieve maximum psychological impact. Whether these structures were built by the creatures themselves or by something else entirely remains unknown. But their presence suggests this hunting behavior may have been occurring in the Hudson Valley for far longer than the 60 years of documented encounters. The region's wildlife patterns provide additional evidence that something apex level has claimed this territory. State wildlife biologists note that deer populations in certain areas have completely collapsed despite abundant food sources and lack of human hunting pressure. Black bears, typically dominant predators in the region, avoid specific valleys where turkey monster sightings are most frequent. Even more telling is the behavior of local bird populations. Ornithologists have documented what they call acoustic dead zones, forest areas where songbirds refuse to vocalize during dawn and dusk chorus periods. These silent zones correspond exactly with the locations of reported encounters. The creatures aren't just passing through the Hudson Valley. They've established it as their hunting ground, and the local ecosystem has adapted accordingly. This territorial behavior explains another disturbing pattern in the encounters. The turkey monster doesn't simply prey on random hikers. It appears to be studying human behavior, learning from each interaction, and refining its hunting techniques based on what works most effectively. Recent trail camera footage from the area shows evidence of coordinated activity between multiple entities. Thermal signatures suggest at least 3 separate creatures operating within the valley, potentially working together to herd prey into predetermined locations. The implications are chilling. These aren't random monster encounters. They're evidence of an organized predatory system that has been perfecting itself for decades in one of the most acoustically advantageous hunting grounds in North America. The Hudson Valley has become something far more dangerous than a wilderness area with occasional cryptid sightings. It's an active hunting preserve where apex predators use the landscape itself as a weapon against human prey. Not everyone who encounters the turkey monster survives to share their story. The Hudson Valley region has seen 3 documented cases of missing hikers whose final communications mentioned hearing turkey calls in the darkness, people who made different choices than Marcus Chen and paid the ultimate price. The first disappearance occurred in October 2017. David Kellerman, an experienced solo hiker from Albany, was 3 days into a week-long backpacking trip through the Maybrook State Forest. His last radio check-in came at 11:47 p.m. on October 23rd. Base camp, this is David, hearing some weird turkey sounds near my position, going to investigate and report back in 30 minutes. He never made that follow-up call. Search and rescue teams found his campsite the next morning completely intact. His tent was still zipped shut, sleeping bag laid out, dinner dishes clean and stacked. The only sign of disturbance was his missing headlamp and the fact that David himself had vanished without taking any of his gear. Most disturbing were the personal belongings searchers discovered 50 yards from his camp. David's wallet, keys, and phone were arranged in a perfect triangle around a small cairn of stacked stones. Inside his wallet, searchers found a photo of his 7-year-old daughter at her first soccer game, the same photo he'd shown to other hikers just days before, beaming with pride as he talked about coaching her team. The arrangement was too precise to be accidental, too deliberate to be the result of an animal encounter. The second case happened just 14 months later. Sarah Martinez, a wildlife photographer, documenting nocturnal bird behavior, disappeared from her research site near Pine Bush in December 2018. Her final voice memo, recorded at 1:23 a.m., captured her last moments. Something's making turkey calls out here, but the acoustics are all wrong. The sounds are coming from ground level, not the trees. I'm going to get closer for better audio recording. Her camera equipment was found 3 days later by a park ranger, meticulously stacked on top of a stone cairn in a complex spiral pattern that would have required opposable thumbs to construct. Tucked beneath her telephoto lens was a half-finished letter to her sister, written on hotel stationery. She'd been planning to propose to her girlfriend of 3 years when she returned from this research trip. The memory cards were missing, but her backup audio recorder contained 47 minutes of the most disturbing Turkey Monster vocalizations ever captured. The recordings reveal Sarah's gradual psychological deterioration as the infrasound took effect. Her professional commentary becomes increasingly disjointed, her voice growing more agitated and confused with each passing minute. The final entry is barely coherent, just panicked breathing and the sound of footsteps moving away from her equipment toward the source of the calls. The third disappearance shattered any remaining hope that these were isolated incidents. In September 2021, experienced wilderness guide Tom Richardson vanished while leading a small group through the Hudson Valley backcountry. His clients reported hearing him respond to turkey calls outside their shared shelter around 2 a.m. "Those aren't right," Richardson had whispered to his group. "Turkeys don't sound like that in September. I need to check this out." The clients waited in their tent for over an hour before hiking out at dawn to report Richardson missing. Search teams found his gear arranged around a stone cairn, but this time something was different. His worn leather journal lay open to a page where he'd been sketching wildflowers for his granddaughter's nature collection, the colored pencils still sharp from his evening ritual of adding details by firelight. Richardson's GPS device was still active, showing his final movements. The tracking data revealed he had walked in a perfect spiral pattern for over 2 miles, circling closer and closer to a central point deep in the forest. The spiral ended at a cluster of ancient stone structures where his signal went dead. Analysis of all 3 disappearances reveals a chilling pattern. The creatures don't simply attack their victims. They appear to be studying human behavior and collecting evidence of their encounters. The arranged personal belongings suggest a level of intelligence and planning that goes far beyond simple predation. Even more disturbing is the escalating sophistication of these disappearances. Each case shows the creatures learning from previous encounters, refining their techniques, and becoming more effective at luring victims away from safety. The turkey monster isn't just hunting humans, it's experimenting on us. You now know what that unnatural silence actually means. When you're camping alone and every sound in the forest suddenly stops, no wind, no insects, no distant traffic, that's not just a peaceful night. Your brain's ancient warning system is screaming that something apex level is close enough to kill you. If you hear turkey calls breaking that silence at 2:17 a.m., you'll know they're not coming from a bird. You'll recognize the acoustic weapon being deployed against your neurology. You'll understand why your body wants to investigate those sounds, and more importantly, why you need to resist that urge. The missing hikers who walked toward those gobbles didn't have this knowledge. They couldn't identify the infrasound dismantling their judgment or recognize the spiraling hunt pattern drawing them away from safety. But now you can. And more importantly, now you can protect the people you care about. Think about your family members who love to hike, your friends who go camping every summer, your kids who might join scouts or outdoor programs. They don't know what you know now. They don't understand that turkey calls at 2:17 a.m. mean mortal danger, not a confused bird. When the forest goes silent, and something starts mimicking harmless bird calls in the darkness, you'll know exactly what Marcus Chen knew. Sometimes the only way to survive is to stay perfectly still and wait for the predator to lose interest. But your knowledge means nothing if you keep it to yourself. Share this video with everyone you know who spends time in the wilderness. Send it to your camping buddies. Show it to your family before their next hiking trip. Make them understand what that silence really means. Because David Kellerman's daughter is still waiting for her dad to come home from that camping trip. Sarah Martinez never got to propose to her girlfriend. Tom Richardson's granddaughter will never receive another wildflower sketch. This knowledge could be the difference between your loved ones becoming another tragic story or coming home safely to the people who need them. But the turkey monster isn't the only creature using the Oz effect as a weapon. Subscribe right now so you don't miss the next investigation. I'm going into the Olympic Peninsula to show you how these creatures are now mimicking perfect human screams to lure search and rescue teams, and why the survivors are found positioned in precise geometric patterns. You need to see this before your next trip. The vocal mimicry is spreading, and it's getting more sophisticated. Because the next time you hear that unnatural silence at 2:17 a.m., you'll know exactly what's hunting you.